This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Jurassic Park Minute. Jurassic Park Minute is the fan podcast that chronicles and overanalyzes the classic 1993 film Jurassic Park minute by minute. I'm Kyle.
I'm Brady.
And today we're here to bring you minute number 52 of Jurassic Park. Brady, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Doing really good. Just, just anticipating the winter doldrums that we're about to enter into. Since,
The January season?
Yeah, January through, early March. When, Christmas is over, New Year's is over, so all you have left to deal with is cold weather.
The cold weather, and, it's a rough 3 months there, really. January, February, and March. I mean, there's some fun stuff that happens. Of course, we have Valentine's Day, Mardi Gras, that's it. And pretty much no good movies released. This is kind of the dumping grounds for the next 3 months where all the stuff that the studios had no faith in comes out. Every now and then you'll get something kind of cool that comes out, but sometimes you have like a great movie that came out over the Christmas break that you can kind of watch a few more times if it's really good into the next year. I know that movies like Frozen and Avatar really benefited from no competition in the marketplace for a while. Force Awakens last year, and we have Rogue One this year. So if you want to go see Rogue One, this will probably be a good time to see it a few more times.
I think it's interesting that Lucasfilm has decided on releasing their Star Wars films in the Christmas season because there is no competition.
Well, I think that was kind of they were forced to at first because of Harrison Ford's injury on The Force Awakens. They had to shift it over to Christmas. But as we've seen with the Lord of the Rings movies and Avatar, Christmas and the holiday season can be a very, very lucrative time to release a film because there's not a lot of competition. Families are together. You're looking for something to do. If you have like a family-friendly movie, you could release it in that window and make a lot of money. So Rogue One will probably continue to rack up a lot of money for that reason, and for the other one, which we have to address, which is the untimely passing of Carrie Fisher.
That's right.
Yesterday, at 60 years old now, of course, over the Christmas break, we all know that Carrie Fisher had suffered a massive heart attack on an airplane ride into Los Angeles. When she landed, I think she was out for 15 minutes. They were able to bring her back and put her on life support. We had heard over the weekend she was in stable condition, and then out of nowhere today, the news came out that Carrie Fisher had passed away.
Complications. I mean, someone can go back into stable conditions, and complications from heart failure can kind of like pop back up.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I mean, life is a fragile thing, and unfortunately, I mean, Carrie Fisher was 60 years old. That's way too young.
I did not know she was that young.
Yeah.
Did not know she was that young.
She was very, she lived a long 60 years, as she has documented herself in her many books that came out, had a lot of problems with mental illness, which she was very upfront about and was kind of a vocal advocate for people with those issues. And I think she lived a very brave life and left a long legacy for all of us. Not just the Star Wars film. She was in Blues Brothers, plays a great role in that as the crazy ex-girlfriend chasing down, Elwood Blues?
She would pop up and stuff a lot. And whenever I saw that happen in movies, it was never like, oh, look, Princess Leia. It was always, oh, Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, that fun old, that fun lady.
She's like kind of a rare type of person, and when faced with stuff like all those demons that she had over the years, she had faced it with a sense of humor, very dry sense of humor, which is something I always appreciate. And she's so funny.
She's hilarious.
She's such a funny lady.
Yeah.
She had a really good talk show for a while. She, of course, had her career as a script doctor.
Yeah.
An outstanding writer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, untimely.
I really was going to be hoping that we would have many more years, not just for her as Princess Leia, but, to hear her views on things, and have, see some more of her, but unfortunately that is not the case, and we want to pay our respects to Carrie Fisher because, Star Wars is a huge part of our lives, and probably a huge part of yours if you're listening to podcasts in general, so we can kind of assume that everybody had a close attachment to her. So just wanted to kind of get that out of the way because it's kind of the thing that's the shadow that's hanging over, I think, probably the rest of the year here. And, oh my God. Can we just get to freaking Saturday already?
This? Yeah. Seriously.
I don't even know if I want to celebrate. I just want to lock myself in a lead-lined closet for New Year's Eve and just kind of let it happen.
It's so funny too that of all the untimely passings that we've had in this damn year, 2016 is no match for Keith Richards.
It will not touch him.
And I almost don't even want to say knock on wood. And just the other day, 2016. I'm sure said hey, Kirk Douglas, you're next. And Kirk Douglas just grabbed his crotch. Come and get it. I'm 100 years old. So
we'll probably be talking about them again in 2020 and, making these jokes again when things just, I think we're kind of entering that level of celebrity culture where we're at the point now where people were made celebrities of, and we're getting to kind of, the sundown period in a lot of people's lives. So it's,
that's true.
With the, Hollywood studio system and people that we idolize, they're going to be passing. This is going to continue on through the next few years. But I think 2016 was just the harbinger of what the new normal is as far as that goes. But
we got to get used to it.
I know.
We got to get used to it.
We do. But, Let's talk about something fun.
Yeah, let's talk about Jurassic Park.
We'll talk about Jurassic Park? All right, great. Let's get into minute number 52. In the previous minute, we saw Ellie and Jerry talk about what it could be that was making the dinosaurs in the park sick. As the minute ended, Ellie went off to look for a source to the Triceratops ills. At minute number 52, Ellie continues to look around for a reason that the dinosaurs are getting sick every 6 weeks. She looks down at a plant and asks Jerry if what she is seeing is West Indian lilac. Jerry confirms and states that they know that they are toxic, but the animals do not eat them. Ellie picks up a handful of seeds and asks Jerry if he is sure. Jerry says that he's pretty sure. Ellie states there's only one way to be positive. Ellie says that she needs to see the dinosaurs' droppings. Malcolm asks her if she indeed said dino droppings. At 52:28, we cut to a weather mapping program shown on a storm tracker over Isla Nublar. As the camera pans over, we see Hammond, Ray, and Muldoon watching the weather's progress. Muldoon is on the phone. He says, "I understand." Muldoon tells Hammond that the storm center hasn't dissipated or changed course. Muldoon tells Hammond that they will have to cut the tour short and will have to pick up the next day. Hammond asks if he is sure. Ray tells Hammond that it is not worth the chance. Muldoon tells him that the storm has sustained winds at 45 knots. Hammond asks Ray to tell everyone when they get back to their cars. Ray steps aside and makes an announcement that the last shuttle leaves for the docks in 5 minutes. He tells everyone to drop what they were doing and leave now. Hammond says, "Damn." And thus ends minute number 52 of Jurassic Park. So, very cool thing about this minute, it's only 2 camera shots the entire minute.
That's right.
They both last about 30 seconds apiece. So we've got, of course, the shot here at the beginning where Ellie's looking down for the West Indian lilac berries and talking to Jerry, and then we have the shot of Hammond, Ray, and Muldoon in the control center there. So we were talking earlier before the show started about Steven Spielberg's way of shooting movies and that he loves long takes.
Yeah.
And about how nobody really packs as much information into the camera as Spielberg does.
And you can go take a look, and that goes all the way back to the beginning. There's a sequence in Jaws where Chief Brody is on the ferry, and the mayor catches up to him and is like, "Look, why are you going and running your mouth like this?" It is one shot that lasts several minutes, a lot of dialogue unpacked, a lot of different, character growth that we're seeing in it, and it is one shot, but it kind of almost feels like multiple shots because the landscape in the background is changing as the ferry turns.
Right.
So it's interesting that he uses that too. It's not one of these like, oh, I'm trying to think of an example of a director who does that, and it's just like, hey, look at me, look at everything, look at this, look at my interesting, unique thing. And Spielberg just kind of does it because it's the best way to do it, and it's still subtle.
Yeah,
and this is a good example of that.
And that's a great observation on an early use of that technique. You remember in War of the Worlds, there's a scene where they're trying to drive out of New York City, and the camera's like whipping around the car, going through the car. That always blew my mind how he did that. And there's even a shot in Tintin where the camera, did you see Tintin?
Yeah, I did.
So it's like at the very end of the movie, they're, I think, at a tank, or there's a tank following them, and the camera's like going around their car and through buildings and back to them. And even though that's a CG movie, that's got to take a lot of work to have the characters in mocap, have the camera be whipping around them, then move virtually, and then come back to them as far as performance goes.
This is this thing we've talked about recently that I call the camera on the rope, and I'm not a fan of it at all.
Yeah.
At all. And I hate the distraction. Yeah, sure, I'm wowed by the fact that the camera's, going from 60 feet in the air through the passenger window, out the other window, and all this. And this, I have no idea what's going on in the story. I can't pay attention to any dialogue because it's just someone saying, "Look at me, look at my camera." And I'm not saying that. So, okay, War of the Worlds benefited from that. It needed that style. Baz Luhrmann films need the kind of style, the camera work and whatnot that he puts into it. Mm-hmm. But it's still distracting as hell for me. And the Baz Luhrmann thing's a bad example because I like Baz Luhrmann. But in the case of Spielberg, going from the sequence that we're watching right here, where there's just 2 camera movements, to something where his camera's just all over the damn place.
Yeah.
I miss old Spielberg. I really do.
Yeah.
I miss the subtlety.
So, I was looking up West Indian lilac before this started, and I have a few more notes on that for the next minute, but I was trying to see where exactly in the world it grows. You can find it in the United States and Florida, but also in Caribbean climates. So it would be, even though when you think of the Caribbean or the West Indies, that's more of Barbados, and it's kind of east of where this movie takes place. This is kind of off the coast of Costa Rica, but it's kind of in the same latitude, longitude levels, or I guess it'd be latitude levels. So it's possible that in the climate, you could get something like West Indian lilac brought over by a bird and dropped. So it makes sense that it could be there.
So here's my thing on that. Mm-hmm. Why have it? Jerry says, we know they're toxic, but the animals don't eat them. Why have it? Why have it? This is just another example of the Jurassic Park team being so irresponsible and just, more just being unprofessional. Let's put this plane here because they look good.
But I don't think they put it there. That's what I'm saying. It grows in the same area, that level of latitude of the world, that it's possible that a bird could have flown over and dropped this around where Isla Nublar is. It's not really in Costa Rica so much it is, it's in like the West Indies, which like Barbados and stuff like that. Right. It's found in Caribbean islands, and Costa Rica is kind of like right near the Caribbean, so it's plausible that it'd be there. But yeah, I agree with you if they're putting something like that in there, because when I first saw this movie I thought it was like an ancient leaf, there's a little bit of misinformation here earlier. Ellie pulls that leaf off and says, this shouldn't be here.
Right.
And so when they refer again to a plant that's there, they probably need to make that distinction that, oh, by the way, this isn't like the plant you talked about earlier, plant lady, that an extinct plant that we're bringing back. This is one that's naturally occurring in this environment.
And this is also one of those little reminders of who Ellie is, why she is here, what is her career of choice, the botanist.
Right.
And it's just like, okay. I have some more notes about the West Indian lilac that I want to come back to in a few minutes.
Sure,
but it's still something that just kind of, I don't know, why the hell is it there? But so we also get the clock, the ticking clock that we keep talking about, which is just getting faster and faster and faster. And now it's, Ray says, everybody leave for the shuttle. It's leaving in 5 minutes. Drop what you're doing and leave right now.
Yeah.
And so I guess everybody is just kind of going home for the weekend. All the employees are going to get on the shuttle, go home for the weekend. And then my question is, if Ray and Muldoon and Nidri are staying behind, do you think they have lodging there?
Well, I know in the book they made a great deal to talk about Hammond's bungalow that was there. Yeah. So I'm assuming that they have some sort of dormitories or housing for people, but they really should have it for a lot. I mean, if it's a zoo with gigantic man-eating dinosaurs on it, and you're going to have guests stay there, you should probably have. But of course, we're still in the area where they're putting the park together, so it's plausible that they do have to get people off the island, that they're not having people stay there overnight. But you would think that probably Muldoon, Ray, Hammond would probably have some sort of place where they stay on.
And I think in the book it also talks about how Wu had his bungalow, Dr. Wu.
That would make sense too.
But they, everybody drop what you're doing and leave now, not only speeds up this clock, but it just increases the claustrophobia that we're feeling, because now you have maybe 10 people total on this island, and half of them are in this room with us right now. And so we're all screwed. Yeah.
But you're starting to get the claustrophobia. Everything's kind of getting smaller and smaller and closed off. And I think this movie does the ticking clock so well because, like you said, you're hinted at it every now and then. And right now, Ray says 5 minutes. And as we close out the next minute, we're going to see the thunder starts to clap. You know?
Exactly.
And I think you actually start to hear a little bit of the rumble and the thunder in the next minute. But
so Muldoon says that first off, I've called this storm a hurricane. And it is not a hurricane.
Right,
Muldoon says 45 knots, which equals 51 miles an hour. It's, I think, a hurricane 74.
That sounds about right. A Cat 1.
And to give you an idea, Hurricane Katrina, which hit just around us, was at 170. I think it was 174 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that translates to in knots, but
I think when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, it was a Category 3 storm. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's the big one." It's like, no, it was not the big one. It just hit at the right level to cause the significant amount of damage to the levees that it did. But if you think of something like on an island like this, the winds are coming in at 51 miles an hour. And you've only got 3 people on there, it's going to bring down a significant amount of trees and limbs and stuff like that. I hope to God they have chainsaws where they can start sawing that stuff up, because roads are going to be inaccessible. It might be weeks before they could get a crew out there to help them out. You know, you've got a feeble old man, computer programmer, and then this hard up Aussie. They could be in a really bad situation. They might have to start eating brontosaurus pretty soon.
Yeah. So here's the thing. One of the things I like so much about this movie is that sense of claustrophobia that it builds. You've got just your handful of people who work there. Maybe, 4 employees total who are staying behind, and then your guest. In the book, they mentioned that there's still a lot of staff, a lot of employees still on the island, which just made it so less special. And I think at one point, somebody's running around the complex, and they see like some of the other employees just walking along. They may at one point in the book talk about how some of them were like getting lunch, and it just has such a casual feel to it. And I'm like, this is just not. It doesn't have that same intensity that having fewer people does. Right.
Yeah. Then Spielberg definitely. I mean, I don't know at what part of the script they were like, should we just have these number of people on here? But that was the right decision to make. To make everything feel smaller and more dire, I guess.
Well, that's all I have for this minute.
That's pretty much all I have, too. Just that note on the West Indian lilac, really, which, oddly enough, will carry over into the next minute. So we'll talk about that then. So, all right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're going to have a Patreon episode coming up this weekend talking about our top films of 2017. And then I think maybe the week after that, we're actually going to start getting into some Jurassic Park content. So we're going to hammer that stuff out and let you know well enough ahead of time. But if you want to be a part of that, check out patreon.com/PeleMedia. We'll have a little bit more information coming up at the end of the show about that. You ready to get out of here, Brady?
Let's do it.
Let's go eat some tacos. It's taco time, right? All right.
Sure.
All right, folks. Well, I'm Kyle.
I'm Brady.
And until next time, hang on to your butts.
Jurassic Park Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the podcast, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can contact us at JurassicParkMinute@gmail.com and visit us online at JurassicParkMinute.com, Facebook.com/Jurassic Park Minute, and Twitter.com/Jurassic Minute. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/PeleMedia. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/PeleMedia and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PeleMedia.